Hi, my name is Sam Price. Every single week I do a macro technical analysis video where I break down gold, silver, Bitcoin, the NASDAQ, S&P, Bitcoin dominance, altcoins, the DXY, and more. So come on in with me. We're going to do a macro analysis. Why do we do this? Because if you don't look at the bigger picture, you can get caught up in the smaller time frames. You can get really too emotional, and then you can make some really bad decisions. I like to zoom out, get logical, and look at it from a calm, patient perspective. So let's take a look right now and see what's happening to Bitcoin on the bigger picture. The first thing I always look at is the monthly when I'm doing my top downs because I want to see what's happening to the big picture for Bitcoin. Now, if you look at the indicators on the monthly, they are starting to get oversold. The RSI is low, MACD is turning, and we're hitting a previous resistance, right? Which has become a support, and we could be coming back into support again. We did wick right here, which was at that previous tweezer top on the monthly. So pretty interesting area for price action to bounce from. We're looking for this monthly candle to close green. As I was saying, even in February, we'll never really know what's going to happen until the end of March because we need March to close a green candle. We knew February was going to close red like February 28th. It looked obvious. So unless we did some miraculous move overnight, it wasn't going to happen. So we knew about like February 27th that we weren't going to know if there was going to even be a slight reversal on the major time frames until the end of March. We're getting closer to that time now, only 11 days to see when this candle will close, right? Let's move on into the 2-week chart, which I like to look at too. Somewhat bullish, but I'm still assuming that we're going to make a bear flag and continue lower unless something can change. Just like we made it, 8-week bear flag this, bear flag there and drop. We could make an 8-week bear flag here and continue to drop. The trend is still down on the bigger time frames. We're going to have to get a major move. Even on this 2-week chart, we're going to have to close above that resistance. Right now we're red. We can close above it, but it's not perfect. I look at the weekly, and it's the same idea here on the weekly. We're going to close, and again, it is a higher close if we close like this on a Sunday, but to me, it's still likely that we could be in some chop, and it's not amazing. It would have been nicer if this closed green. What we are looking for is if you can get an inverted head and shoulder here back to the upside. You come up here and make a right shoulder, that could end up being a great long with lower risk. Getting in here is higher risk, but there's good reward, right? So that's the idea. One could technically open a long here with a stop below this wick, but I don't like it right now. That would have to be green for me to really want to make that move. 5-day chart, still same idea. The 3-day chart, and to me, is the one that kind of makes makes the most sense in structure. And to me, it's making a bear flag. And so to me, the 3-day chart isn't a bear flag. It does have some higher lows. Tweezer bottom. Can you make another higher tweezer bottom? But for the most part, yeah, I still see this length of this pole here as the flag of the flagpole, and I see this as the flag. And so Bitcoin to me still looks like it's going to go lower. I'm not opening up a short just now, but the bulls are not in control right now. To me, the bears are in control. And what we're going to have to do today's actually a pretty big day for Bitcoin. What has to happen is we kind of have to close a green candle today so you can get this bounce off the trend line. If you close a red candle, it's kind of saying that this trend line is going to drop. And then you have this kind of bear div breakdown, and this starts to drop all the way back down to here, right? Or take out the low that we made back in, February 6th there. So you really want that daily candle to close green. It looks like it's going to close red. And the last thing I want to point out is how bearish the 4-hour looks right now with a bit of a shoulder, head, and a right shoulder. Chance it could flip green too, but with that big wick to the downside, it doesn't look amazing. And it looks like we're more likely going to dump down. So I'm more short than long on Bitcoin right now. It looks bearish. I could be wrong. There's a few things that can happen. What you're looking for is the daily to close green. And right now for this, if you zoom in here for this 4-hour candle to close green, but right now it looks unlikely. It's actually looking more bearish than I previously thought. So yeah. I'm leaning more bearish for Bitcoin personally right now. Yeah. So that's my Bitcoin update. Bitcoin looks bearish, and the drop down somewhere down to 64,000 for BTC. Next, we're going to move into the total market cap in all of cryptocurrency, and we're going to break down what I see in the total market cap. It's exactly the same thing. Bitcoin has so much dominance, and I see that head and shoulder pattern brewing, and to me, it just looks like you're going to go lower. Right? And that's going to take you somewhere down to $2.15 trillion. And that's going to start a bigger leg down. You see? So to me, it looks like we're going to start this bearish move and start to take this second leg further down for Bitcoin. And that takes you somewhere down to $1.87 trillion too. We could double bottom and we may stop here at 2.25, but I'm leaning like we're going to get a move to the downside. Same with the altcoins. If you look at total 3, they're going to be probably following pretty much the same idea. They got the right shoulder there. Still could be a higher low, and next thing you know, we could be higher. It's sketchy. Today is sketchy. We're not getting a great reading. I could see it definitely go either way. In the next 2 days, we'll get more confirmation. Like, for instance, if this closes green and we start to bounce back to the top of the channel, kind of changes everything. It could be a higher low. This could wiggle out. We could be making a flag like this above the 200. And then I'll know to long. So right now, it's looking like we're going to dump. But say it comes up and consolidates, then we have a chance to long. But we need more time. I need more time to be able to make that assessment. And that's just what it is. You look at Bitcoin dominance, and that usually will drop if Bitcoin's going to drop. And to me, I see the same kind of shoulder there. It looks like it's going to head at least back to the bottom of the pattern, or at least go sideways, you see? And Bitcoin dominance goes up too when altcoins go down because they sell off into Bitcoin. So I see it just going sideways though. No crazy move, just sideways price action as it gets tighter inside the zone. What you really want to see is tether dominance. If tether dominance looks like it's about to give way, then we know Bitcoin could likely be be going down. So let's take a look at this. Just get rid of these drawings here. When you look at tether dominance on the 4-hour, okay, it's in this giant flag, kind of with this rounded top too. Like, it's funny, man. Nothing looks too bearish. Nothing looks too bullish. So, but it technically does look like a bull flag that wants to continue to the upside. And it's basically the opposite of Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin's upside down. Like, Bitcoin could be the higher low that wants to break out. It does have a rounded top, kind of like it could end up almost making like an inverted cup and handle that drops at the downside. Being really, really thinking out the box here, though. But at the end of the day, let's take a look at our daily. The daily looks like a bull flag. It's kind of away for the 21. It's curving. And I have to be honest, the daily looks like it's going to continue higher. So if I had to assess this, it says Bitcoin's going to drop next week and tether dominance is going to go up. So right now, and it could change. It could make a right shoulder. It could dump. But right now, it looks like we're going to continue higher on tether dominance, which means Bitcoin's going to take a hit and go further down. So I see more downside for Bitcoin. Tether is also saying the same thing. And then I like to take a look at gold. Took a beat down, right? We talked about gold. I said, listen, remember last week I said I wouldn't get into gold right now. I said I see it either retracing back to the 618 or going sideways. I said either way, I need to see it touch that 21-day moving average, preferably on the weekly. You see how I drew it? And it dropped right to the weekly 200 pretty fast. Whenever something does that, it usually wants to reset pretty fast too. So, and again, could be a good place to begin to accumulate gold, but what we're looking for is something like this. If they continue to print money, which it looks like they will, it did get a pretty crazy run up. But, you're looking for a possible bounce off the 21 on the 200. Let this thing get tight. It would take a long time. That will be June till it starts to break out, and then gold goes on its tear. It might even go a little bit lower down to this to test this support at 4,200. Again, I wasn't in a gold trade. We were not trading gold. But so far, so good. I do like what I'm seeing. That could be a nice bounce off the 200 and get tight, and we'll be ready to trade gold again at another time. We trade gold at the perfect time. We'll do it again at the right time. Right now is just not the time, right? Unless you want to try to catch that bottom aggressively, but to me, I don't see the point. Silver, to me, is more on a downtrend, you can see. And I see it going to a weekly 618 off of this Fibonacci pull. So when I do that, I'm going to go all the way to the higher price action. It says that silver is pretty much at the 618, could go to the 786. I see 5960 as a possible, temporary bottom here. May even go a little bit lower down to 53. Wow, can you believe silver ran all the way up to 117 to get sold down to 66? It's pretty crazy to think about when you really break it down. I sold a lot of silver in my Kinesis account, which is funny. I had bought silver with some Bitcoin gains in Tether, and I said, hey, we could start accumulating. Remember I was talking about accumulating silver like months ago? It was crazy on the stream. Somehow that became very prophetic. I see it eventually bottoming out and continuing up again when they continue to print money, but it does look like you're going to be able to get it a little cheaper. We take a look at the NASDAQ, and I have been a little overly bullish for the NASDAQ to really get this move and to get a bounce. But every single time I've been a little overly bullish, they kind of like, it's got to pump, dump, got to pump, got to dump. It's have crazy volatility on the week because it's really based on what's happening with this war, man. If everything goes well for the war, NASDAQ will come back. If we have the Strait of Hormuz closed for too long, things get out of control, and we have more talks and nukes, it could be very bad for the stock market. So, but usually war is good for the stock market. I'm telling you, man, despite these crazy wicks, I know I sound like a broken record, but I still look for this to wick out and get tight and to continue to the upside on the bigger time frames. We look at the S&P future, and it's a similar idea. It looks a little bearish. I see it dropping down a little more, possibly to this support here, and then we get the reversal. And it can even shoulder head. We may get a little right shoulder and then continue to dump. There's a lot of political unrest. I can't, even the charts, which usually give you a little more insight, I know they could change a lot faster, and where we're at, we're extended. Same idea, though. I'd like to see us continue. It just looks like the S&P has a little more downside. Like maybe Monday, Tuesday it dumps, and then we start to reverse on Wednesday. But I'm looking for the sell-off to eventually stop and for us to kind of get this bounce back to the upside. We had it many times. It's crazy. Like we bounced on the daily. We bounced on that 3-day. Still just, see the daily losing the 200. That's always a bearish sign for me. I never love that. That has to get back above it in the next 4 to 5 days. Otherwise, it could become a sustainable dump. You can kind of see how this is an Adam and Eve double top. See how that's a triangle? There's an, So right now, it's watching the S&P. We really need Monday to close green and then get this reversal back to the upside. I'm still pulling for the reversal, though. I know I'm really stubborn on this, but I'm still pulling for the reversal for the S&P. So that's where I stand, everybody. That is the macro technical analysis for the overall bigger markets, right? So you can kind of see what's happening to the NASDAQ. You can see what's happening to Bitcoin, gold and silver, and more. Stay tuned. I do this every single week, and I break it down, and I do this stuff throughout the week. If you like this type of technical analysis, my name's Sam Price, Crypto Lifer. I've been doing it for over 10 years. Watch my live stream every single Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I can't wait to see you there. Crypto is life.